Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin. Good morning. My name is Mr. Carter. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good morning. My name is Liam O'Connor. You can call me Liam. I am originally from a small coastal town, but I live now in the city for work and study. Pleased to meet you.
Thank you. Can I see your identification, please?
Yes, of course, here it is. Sorry, I was a bit nervous handing it over.
That's fine. Now, in this first part, one will ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in an apartment on the third floor of a modern block. It is not very big, but it is comfortable and near my office, which saves a lot of commuting time. The building has a small gym and a shared rooftop garden that I enjoy using on weekends to read or have coffee with neighbors.
Why did you choose to live there?
Mainly because of convenience and cost. When I moved here 2 years ago, I wanted somewhere close to work and also within budget. The location was perfect for my needs and the landlord was reasonable with rent. Also at that time I was planning to save money for a course, so living close to work helped me a lot.
Has the area changed since you moved there?
Yes, it has changed quite a bit. There are more cafes and co-working spaces now, and a small park was renovated. The neighborhood feels more lively, maybe because new businesses are opening. On the other hand, some local shops closed, which is a shame because they were part of the area's character.
Do you prefer living in the city or in the countryside?
I prefer the city now because of opportunities and social life. When I was younger, I enjoyed countryside life, the calm and space, but currently the city offers better jobs and cultural events. That said, I try to visit rural areas on holidays to get a break from city noise and recharge.
Okay. Now let's talk about your family. How many people are in your immediate family?
In my immediate family there are 4 people. My parents, my younger sister, and myself. My sister studies at university and she is really into environmental science. My parents live in my hometown and we keep in touch often, usually by video calls on weekends.
What do you enjoy doing together as a family?
We like to cook together when I visit home. My mother makes traditional dishes and my father is quite funny when he tries new recipes. At festivals we have big family meals, and sometimes we take short trips to the coast. Those moments are nice because they are relaxed, and we talk a lot about memories and plans.
How often do you see them?
Because of work I see them in person maybe every 2 or 3 months, but we speak more frequently by phone or video. I try to call at least once a week to check in and keep the relationship close, even if we are apart physically.
Right. Now about your work or study, do you work or are you a student?
I work full-time as a product manager in a small technology company, and I am also doing part-time postgraduate study in user experience design. Balancing both is challenging, but I find them complementary because my job gives practical perspective, and the course provides theoretical depth.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
What I enjoy most is solving user problems and working with a team to make products better. The collaborative process of gathering feedback, iterating on design ideas, and then seeing measurable improvements is very satisfying. Also, I like mentoring junior colleagues. It feels rewarding to help someone grow professionally.
How long have you been working there?
I have been working there for 3 years now. I joined as a junior and gradually took more responsibilities. The company encouraged learning, so I was able to move into product management from a more technical role after about a year.
Okay, let's move on to hobbies. What do you do in your free time?
In my free time, I like reading, cycling, and cooking. Reading helps me learn new ideas and relax. I often read books about design, and also novels. Cycling is my exercise and a way to explore different parts of the city or nearby trails. Cooking is a hobby that I picked up more seriously during the last couple of years, and now I try recipes from various cuisines.
Why do you enjoy cooking?
Cooking is creative and concrete. You can see results fairly quickly. It is relaxing and also social when I cook for friends. I enjoy experimenting with flavors and techniques, and sometimes I combine ideas from traditional dishes with modern twists. It is a satisfying way to unwind after a busy week.
How long have you been doing these activities?
Reading I have done since childhood. Cycling I started more seriously about 5 years ago when I wanted a healthier commute option, and cooking became more frequent in the last 3 years when I had more time and interest in trying new recipes.
Great. Finally, in part 1, let's talk about your daily routine. What does a typical weekday look like for you?
A typical weekday starts early. I wake up around 6:30, do a short run or stretch, then have breakfast and check emails. I commute to the office or sometimes work from home. The day is a mix of meetings and focused work blocks for product planning. I try to reserve evenings for study or personal projects, and I usually cook dinner. Before bed I read for half an hour to switch off.
Has your routine changed recently?
Yes, it has changed since I started the postgraduate course. I now allocate time for classes and assignments, which sometimes means I study late into the evening. Also, I try to be more intentional with breaks to avoid burnout, so I take short walks during lunch and limit screen time before sleeping.
Thank you. That is the end of part 1. Now part 2. I will give you a topic and I want you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. You will have 1 minute to prepare. Here is your topic. Describe a memorable trip you took. You should say where you went, who you went with, what you did, and explain why it was memorable. You have 1 minute to prepare. You may start when you are ready.
Okay. I am ready. Last year I took a memorable trip to the West Coast with 2 close friends. We rented a small car and drove along the shoreline for about 5 days, stopping in fishing villages and small towns. We hiked in a national park where the cliffs met the sea, swam in quiet bays, and visited local markets to try seafood dishes. One evening we met an elderly fisherman who told us stories about the area and invited us for tea. The trip was memorable because it felt spontaneous, the scenery was beautiful, and it gave us time to talk deeply about life and future plans. We had simple routines, no rush, and because of that, conversations became honest and meaningful. I remember one morning standing on a cliff watching fog lift off the water and feeling very peaceful. That moment stayed with me, reminding me of the value of slowing down. Is that enough detail, or should I add more about specific places?
Could you tell me more about the conversation with the fisherman and why it stood out?
Yes. The fisherman was in his 70s, and he spoke about changes in the community over decades, like fewer young people staying and more tourists passing through. He showed us old photographs and pointed out how the coastline used to support more families. What stood out was his calm acceptance and his pride for the place, despite hardships. He offered us tea and homemade bread and asked about our lives. In that simple exchange, there was warmth and honesty. We learned a lot about the rhythm of ordinary life, which made me reflect on my own priorities and the pace at which I live.
Right. One more question. Did this trip change the way you travel now?
Yes, it did. Since then I prefer slower travel with more local contact, rather than trying to see many things quickly. I plan fewer places per trip, and leave room for unplanned conversations and discoveries, because those interactions are often the most memorable parts of travel.
Thank you. Now part 3. I will ask some questions related to travel and tourism. Do people in your country travel a lot for holidays?
Yes, people travel quite a bit for holidays. Domestic tourism has grown recently because international travel can be expensive and sometimes complicated. Many families visit coastal towns or national parks for short breaks. Younger people often go abroad when they can, but there is a strong culture of taking a summer holiday with family or friends, which is seen as an important time to relax and reconnect.
Why do you think people choose domestic trips over international ones now?
There are a few reasons. Cost is a major factor. Domestic trips are usually cheaper and easier to arrange last minute. Also, people appreciate supporting local businesses and discovering hidden gems in their own country. Recently, health concerns and travel restrictions have also made domestic trips more practical. Additionally, environmental awareness plays a role. Some travelers want to reduce flights and choose closer destinations.
Do you think tourism has more positive or negative effects on local communities?
Tourism brings both benefits and challenges. Positively, it creates jobs and income for local people, helps preserve some cultural traditions by making them visible and valued, and can lead to infrastructure improvements. On the negative side, too much tourism can overcrowd places, push up prices for residents, and sometimes harm the environment through waste or erosion. Ideally, sustainable tourism practices should be used so communities benefit without losing their character.
What measures can governments take to promote sustainable tourism?
Governments can set limits on visitor numbers in fragile sites, invest in waste management and public transport to reduce car use, and support local businesses so income stays in the community. Education campaigns for visitors about respectful behavior are important, and incentives for eco-friendly accommodation or tours can encourage sustainable choices. Planning and community involvement are key, so policies reflect local needs.
How has technology changed the way people travel?
Technology has changed travel a lot. Booking and navigation are easier with apps, and travelers can find local experiences through online platforms. Social media influences choices by sharing images and recommendations, which can boost less-known destinations quickly. On the downside, technology sometimes reduces spontaneity because people plan rigid itineraries based on ratings. And over-tourism can be magnified when thousands of people discover a place at once through a viral post.
Do you think tourists should follow the same rules as locals when visiting a place?
They should respect local laws and cultural norms, yes. Tourists may not know all customs, but they have a responsibility to learn basic etiquette and behave respectfully. Simple things like dressing appropriately at religious sites, not littering and asking permission before photographing people are important. Respect fosters positive relationships between visitors and residents.
How can tourism affect a country's cultural identity?
Tourism can both preserve and change cultural identity. When communities share traditions with visitors, it can strengthen pride and provide income for cultural activities. However, sometimes traditions are simplified or commercialized to appeal to tourists, which can dilute their original meaning. Over time, cultural practices might adapt for tourists, and this can shift how locals see their own heritage.
Do younger people travel differently from older people?
Younger people often travel more independently and seek adventure, unique experiences, and socializing. They may favor budget travel, short-term work abroad, or backpacking. Older travelers sometimes prefer comfort, guided tours, and longer stays with more relaxation. But these are general trends, and many exceptions exist. For example, some older people are adventurous, and many young people prefer comfortable trips.
What role do you think education plays in shaping how people travel?
Education broadens perspectives and can encourage more responsible travel. People who learn about history, environment, and cultures are usually more curious and respectful when visiting new places. Education can also inform travelers about the impacts of their choices and promote sustainable behavior. Schools and universities that include travel or exchange programs can create lifelong habits of thoughtful travel.
If travel became impossible for many people, what alternatives could satisfy the desire for exploration?
If travel were limited, people might explore through virtual reality experiences, local exploration, and cultural exchange online. Urban environments have many hidden layers to discover, like local museums, community events, and neighborhood histories. Volunteering or working with diverse communities can also fulfill curiosity. While virtual experiences are not the same as physical travel, they can still broaden horizons if used thoughtfully.
Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test. I see. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Goodbye.
Interesting.
Sorry, one quick thing. Earlier I said if I would have known, I would went there when I talked about plans. I meant to say, if I had known I would have gone there. I just wanted to correct that.
Right. The candidate demonstrated Band 7.5 level performance. Notable errors included saying, if I would have known I would went there, when it should be. If I had known I would have gone there, and saying I tend to be interested about new technologies, when it should be, I tend to be interested in new technologies. Another occasional mistake was I have been lived in this city for 6 years, which would be better as I have lived in this city for 6 years. These errors appeared sparingly across the test, mainly when the candidate attempted more complex structures, and they did not prevent understanding. Fluency was strong overall with a natural flow, minimal hesitation, and effective self-corrections, such as the candidate saying, "Sorry, what I mean is," and correcting the conditional sentence. Vocabulary was wide and appropriate for most topics, with good use of descriptive language, like rooftop garden, sustainable tourism, and commercialized traditions, though there were moments of slight imprecision with prepositions and verb forms. Grammatically, strengths included accurate use of simple and many complex sentences, clear organization of ideas, and appropriate linking. Weaknesses were occasional incorrect use of conditionals and prepositions, and a couple of slips in perfect tense forms. This performance merits Band 7.5 because the candidate communicated clearly and coherently across a range of topics, used a wide vocabulary, and showed good pronunciation and fluency, but made a few systematic errors in complex grammar that limited accuracy. To reach the next band, the candidate should focus on mastering complex conditionals and perfect tense forms, and on preposition accuracy during speaking practice, and aim to reduce the remaining slips under pressure. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.